Good evening and welcome to your Thursday edition of This Is Ibrox podcast with myself, Ian Mitchell and JB. We'll look at the Celtic game on Sunday. We'll try not to talk about the Celtic game last Sunday because we're all sick of that and try and get some positivity going ahead of the Scottish Cup quarter-final this weekend. JB, just straight away, how are you? Have you calmed down since last Sunday or are you back in a positivity train by this point?
Yeah, I'm better than what I was Sunday. I was just saying to you off air then. I only actually watched the highlights back today, earlier on this afternoon. So that probably goes to show that I've very much put my head in the sand. I normally listen to all the podcasts. Obviously, we know all the people on all the other podcasts, and I normally try and take everything in, whether I'm in the car, whether I'm out for a walk, whether I'm on my lunch, whatever I do, I try and listen. It must be 99% Rangers content. And everything's been switched off this week, other than us on Tuesday, obviously. But everything, I've just been hiding from everything. I haven't even been on Twitter. My phone's worried that I've lost it because I've just stayed away from everything. But today I thought, right, I'm on the pod tonight. I'm going to have to at least watch the highlights back. So I watched the extended highlights back today, and I was even buzzing at half time watching the highlights back. I was like, come on. And then by the end of it, I was like, why did you watch the second half? You just killed yourself there. I was back in the dumps. But no, we go again, and we'll try and pick ourselves up as we go through. But yeah, evening to everyone.
Was there anything? I didn't watch the highlights back. I've seen the goals back and stuff, but I'm like you. I just kind of try and turn a blind eye. Don't want to piss myself off, to be honest. Was there anything in those highlights that you saw that was different from how it felt or how it was at the game? Obviously, we covered it. We were on the gantry, so you don't get those instant replays. You don't get the moments quite like you do when you're at home watching it 2-3 times. Anything you saw in that changed your opinion on anything?
No, I think first half was really dominant, and it kind of felt as if it was going to take a mistake from us to kind of for them to get in. I can't recall Jack Butland being overly tested. I know their striker got in behind once, a ball in Fernandez, but no, I watched that, and it was almost a case of what could have and probably what should have been. I think me and you said at the same time, when we seen Hatate come on, it's like, get close to him. That was the kind of first thing that we needed to do. Was if you nullify him, I think we'd have been okay. Callum McGregor, I think, is one that we've always kind of targeted the last few years, and we've always touched on. Asgard done a good job on him on the 0-0. Bajrami done a good job on him a few years ago. And in the last, I mean, they haven't beat us in 8. Is it 8 or 9 now?
Within 90 minutes, yeah. There was a couple games in there they got through, but yeah, we've not lost 90 minutes.
So like, I think the Callum McGregor thing is kind of gone now for me, and that was always something I was like, we've got to stop him from playing. I think now the games are going to be won and lost against the team that makes the least mistakes and the team that remains focused and works the hardest. I don't think there's a massive gap in the quality between the two teams anymore. Like, I know we spoke offline in regards, you go man for man. I actually think we probably edge it. However, you can't edge Old Firm experience in terms of having that. So you think about the second half, and there's a few players just absolutely disappeared. Now, did they disappear because Celtic were that good? I don't think it was that. I think it was potentially the occasion, the amount they put into the first half, the fans' anxiety, a real mix of all of these things. It was almost, I think I said to you the other day, it was like the perfect storm of things that didn't go well, or kind of everything that could have went wrong in that second half kind of went wrong. And yeah, it was just a sickener to take so late on, because I was actually thinking, I think it was about the 85th minute, I kind of looked and gone, even if we win 2-1 here, I think I'm going to be quite disappointed because of this second half.
What could have been? Yeah.
I'd have snapped your hand off in hindsight, like so. But no, as I say, we've got a chance. The players have got a chance to bounce back on Sunday, and there's no better opportunity than against them. So let's go and do it.
Absolutely. As I say, we're now all eyes on this coming Sunday, and the title of this pod has, I think, been a big debate since that game. You mentioned the mistakes in defence. I wasn't quite aware of how mistake-ridden John Souttar's been this last month or so. Obviously, I do my research for the pod because I'm an absolute professional. And I look back at all the goals we've conceded lately. So obviously, as I say to you, JB, and sorry, you're hearing this twice now. Celtic's penalty at the weekend comes from John Souttar not marking properly. There's a couple more errors in there, obviously. It's not just him, but that's a big factor in it. He loses Maeda, as he's done a few times, as the comment just said there about Maeda came in from Doddington. He was terrifying our centre-backs. It's fact. Hate it, but it's fact. But if you look a bit further back, the Livingston 2 goals both come from John Souttar fouls. Again, it's not direct goals from free kicks, but that's what leads to the goals. Hearts 2 goals. Again, the first one, he's run away from Braga. He then gets the assist. The second goal, he challenges Braga for a header, loses the header, Braga scores. Even the Motherwell one, he's the guy who stands off Welsh and then it's too late to back him up and to get the block in. 5 goals there that he's maybe not directly the fault of, but he's a massive part of, and that's only 4 games. Would you bring Jigga in? Is that the kind of biggest debate to be had in terms of who plays centre-back right now?
I think so, because players, you should almost make your decisions based on whether they deserve it, not what they might do. And I think the thing is with Souttar, and I'll be either way, I can see an argument. I think John Souttar's a squad player. For me, I think he's good enough to be in and around the squad. However, if you're going to rely on someone like a John Souttar, then you've got to accept the risk that that's the standard. Do you know what I mean? Would he be playing for Scotland if there was better options out there? Do you know what I mean? Given the fact his competitions, the likes of Grant Hanley and the boy Porteous, I think, who's playing in the US, he's hardly coming up against Beckenbauer. So if he wasn't in the Scotland squad or wasn't in the Scotland starting 11, would he even be anywhere near a conversation to be playing for us? So yeah, for me, I think he's mistake-ridden. He made a couple of mistakes early on. I think I might have said to you at the game, well, hopefully that's John Souttar's mistakes out the system.
Yes.
And there was 3 or 4 times in the second half again when you needed your captain, your leader, to relax things, calm things down, pull things together. He was kicking the ball out the pitch with unchallenged. Like I'm talking 10-yard passes, just kicking them straight out. And you go, what are you doing here? So for me, he's not good enough to be starting for the Rangers team, in my opinion. And so for me, if the option was there on Sunday, I'd definitely be dropping him out.
I think this comment from Rangers man sort of echoes that. He should be an emergency defender. He's the guy you bring in when centre back 1 is injured, kind of thing. That's when he came to the club. It was Balogun and Hollander, Goldson and Hollander, and then Goldson and Balogun. He was always the 3rd or 4th choice. A nice shout here for free Katic. Actually missed Katic, but again, he had his moments for sure. Yeah. The problem here for me is, but I don't think you're bringing in a top-class defender if Jigga comes in. I think he's okay. He was better since AFCON. He came back in. He's now been dropped for 3 or 4 games in a row. I don't think his confidence will be flying high. It's a big game to just step back into. Would you prefer that approach? Or I think I know your answer here, but do you like the Dujon Sterling into centre-back approach and then bring Tav back in? I don't think anything's perfect, but what's the ideal scenario for you?
Yeah, I mean, if we walk through both of them individually, so Dijiga coming in for Souttar, for me, I wouldn't be against it. At least Dijiga would have been involved on Sunday. He'd have seen the atmosphere. He'd have seen kind of what it means. He'd have been well aware of that. He's another one that's got a howler in the locker. Let's have it right. Mm-hmm. However, he's quicker than John Souttar, and one of the biggest threats that we had on against us on Sunday was Celtic's pace, especially the second half. You had Chineki, who on the left, who was quick. Maeda was quick. And naturally, if Hatate's playing, then he's got that burst as well. So I think in terms of pace, it might allow us to play a wee bit of a higher line. If you did bring the Jigger in, and then you've obviously got Sterling right back who can shift, Fernandez can shift, and Robbins can shift. For me, you touched on it there. I would actually be more tempted to probably go Sterling centre half, and then no leggings. We can't have leggings in an old firm. That's a must. I'd actually, and I'm not as big as a fan here. I'm not anyone that knows me knows that I'm not a Tav fanboy by any stretch of the imagination. However, I think we're stronger with Tavernier and Sterling. Tavernier right back and Sterling centre half than what we are with Sterling centre half and Souttar centre half. Sorry, Sterling right back and Souttar centre half.
Yep.
So for me, that would be the change I would make. Tav, for all of his faults, and let's have it right, he's got many faults given the decline that we've seen. However, he's not going to be phased by the game. There's a very good chance that Souttar will be playing. There's a good chance that Maeda will be playing central. So that kind of mitigates the fear of Maeda's just going to roast Tav for 90 minutes. And it's another set piece delivery threat. It's another goal threat. Do John Sterling for everything he does really well. He's got to be in the 11. I'd have Sterling centre mid. Do you know what I mean? I'd have him playing left back, right back,
And left
centre
back,
half.
left
Do you know
wing.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have him in front of Tav before Olsen. Do you know, like that's how much I rate Sterling. However, for what we need on Sunday, we need everyone to be up for it, on it, and kind of go from there. I can see the points in terms of why people wouldn't want Tavernier. If we were playing St Mirren away, I wouldn't be bringing Tavernier in. I'd have him nowhere near it. If we were playing a team that we were, let's pick my words carefully here. If we were playing a team that we were going to be less of the ball with, I probably wouldn't want Tavernier in. However, Tav's been involved quite heavily in the last 7 Old Firm games, albeit the last couple we've had decent results. He's done well. I'm actually my mind's playing tricks on me, because if somebody had said to me last week, right, you want Tavernier in, I'd probably say nowhere near it. I don't know whether, again, it's that bias that we touched on earlier, that players become better players when they're not playing. But all I can say is Tav, for all of his faults, has not had a bad Old Firm game in 2 years, 3 years. So, but time is catching up with him, and we can see that on a daily basis. I thought he was horrendous against Motherwell away. Tavernier, in terms of his ball retention, in terms of his all-round play, I thought he was miles off it. But again, having this team does not look like it's going to score many goals. It doesn't look like it's going to score many goals, and unfortunately, whether we like it or not, probably our best goal scorer is still Tavernier. Whether that be through a set piece, whether it be through arriving late in the box, whether it be through a strike from the edge of the box, getting into the dangerous areas, a penalty. We are due a penalty. So yeah, again, ask me on Sunday morning when I've calmed down a wee bit, and I'll probably go, right, there's a good point. Play De Gea right back. That's where he started his career at Red Star Belgrade. That might be the answer to everything. De Gea right back and push Sterling in one. It'll be bold, but I think it's an interesting one. But yeah, for me, John Souttar, he's had his chance. You've ran through the errors in the last few weeks, and you can't keep rewarding failure. So yeah,
it's also quite damning to Jigger as an example. If you're like, well, this guy's contributed to 5 goals we've conceded in the last 3 or 4 games, and he's still playing, like, that's a slap in the face for me. For what it's worth, I am with the comments. I was bringing up as many as I could because they were flying in for a second there. I don't think I'd be starting Tav. I would 100% be bringing him on at some point, because this could be 120 minutes. And I think if you start him and Sterling, that's neither of them have like 90 minutes in them. I know Sterling has played 90 minutes recently, don't get me wrong, but you're just waiting for him to get injured. And if Tav's on the pitch and Sterling gets injured or can't last any extra time, that's terrifying for what the backup plan is there. What I did say to Hef on Tuesday, for our avid listeners might have heard this as well, I don't think I would play what I think our best 11 is from the start on Sunday. Very risky tactic, very strange tactic to the sounds of it, but I just can see this going all the way. I can see it being very tight with 20, 30 minutes to go. I can see extra time. And if we have the same bench that we had on Sunday there, I'm not looking at Majovski, Asgard, Barami, Isama, etc. I'm not looking at those guys saying, right, there's my match winner. You get on and score us a goal. I don't see who from that list comes on and I get excited about it. Whereas if you're level and you're seeing, I don't know, Skov Olsen and Nadiri warm up, for example, that's a much more exciting prospect. And it's just a fear I have again of maybe starting well or not starting like badly, kind of being level and just not having anything on the bench to turn to. Do you think that's possibly in Danny Rohl's thinking right now? Or is that a bit too defeatist if we go with the team that did batter them for 50 minutes just 5 days ago?
It's an interesting one because there's, as we said earlier, there's not a lot between the two teams, whether we like to admit that or not. Recent results have kind of proven that. As I say, it was relatively tight up in the first game at their place. It was the cup game was tight, even though we were down to 10 men. The game on the weekend turned out to be tight, albeit we should have been out of sight. So for me, you've got to be with one eye on the fact that this could go 120 minutes. I don't want to be going into the going into extra time, and then you're having to bring on the likes of a Magoma, or you're having to bring on the likes of a Tav, for example, because you know Sterling's probably not going to play your 120 minutes. So does there need to be a little bit of a horses for courses over the piece? I think just to jump back on the Tav point there as well, just reflecting a little bit, I think where my headspace is, would I rather have Tav or Souttar in the team?
Yeah.
That's where
Yeah.
my head's at. And for me, that's what I'm thinking, as opposed to I think Tavernier should start for sure. I'm just thinking who is the lesser of two evils, and I think at least Tav is a contributor. However, I also get the argument for not having him in. But yeah, I think there's good. We don't want to finish a game with Asgards and Bajramis and Magomas. No disrespect to him, he's done pretty well. You can't finish a game and expect to win an Old Firm with these guys on the pitch. So mixing it up a little bit mightn't be a bad shout.
Yeah, there's a few comments here about Raskin as well. Probably a guy that's went under the radar the last few days because he was very poor again on Sunday. The clips I did see back, I saw Souttar shouting at him. I saw Chukwani shouting at him a few times. I don't know if it was where he was positionally. I don't know if it was just that whole thing of not showing for the ball, because we saw how many times Butland just lumped out the pitch. Souttar lumped out the pitch. By the end of it all, just bypassing the midfield. But is that because there's no midfield there? Again, I don't know if those two in midfield, as good as it was for the first 50 odd minutes, they were on their feet by the end of it. It's just the kind of the negative of playing a 2 against a 3 in there. So again, something else for Danny Rohl to consider. Speaking of Danny Rohl, there's been a lot of chat this week about not doubting him or not thinking he's going to get sacked. I think there's a very small minority who are in that camp, but there's been questions about whether he's learning, whether he's cut out for this. Do you have any doubts on Danny Rohl? Do you have full faith in him? Where's your head at with Danny Rohl right now?
Yeah, I think for me, the people that probably want Danny Rohl out are probably the ones that didn't want him in. It's probably a fair assessment based on people that I've spoken to. I've spoken to a few people who've made valid arguments as to why they don't think he's going to be able to win as a league. He's drew a hell of a lot of games with better players than the opposition. It's not good. Do you know what I mean? Whether we like that or not. I've just seen Fashion Sakala's name mentioned there. That's made me smile. Yeah, I love that. But yeah, so for me, I think he's. There's no doubt you can't question the job that he's done. I don't know. Are we still top of the league since he come in? Based on his points, it must be there or thereabouts. Maybe Celtic might have caught up a wee bit now.
Joint top, but it's not with. I think it's Motherwell actually, which is insane for how good
Motherwell.
I think we're only a game or two off that, but we're right up there with Motherwell. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you think about again what he come into, you've only got to think about some of the horrendous football we were watching, and two, the horrendous results we were having to sit and witness. So for him to do what he's done in a really short space of time, only brought in like kind of the 4 signings in January in Nadiri, Olsen, Chugwani, and Romans. So he's tinkered with the squad. I think all 4 are going to prove to be okay. We want more from certainly two of them. I think Chukwani and Olsen. I think we still need to see that next gear, if you will. Olsen potentially another 2 or 3 gears. But I think in terms of what he's done with that, he's got us to where we are. He's got us in for a fighting chance. He's going to be judged at the end of the season in terms of what he's done. Having spoken to, and I've said this a few times offline, having spoken to a couple of ex-professionals and professionals still playing, you can't underestimate the importance of a pre-season and what that does for everything. Now, people might argue, well, Russell Martin had a pre-season and look what he done. But Russell Martin it was a nightmare waiting to happen. We all knew before he came in that it probably wouldn't work. At least now the manager's going to have had right good. He's had 6 months or whatever it's going to be to actually review the squad, see what he wants, see what he's got, see what he needs. There's an opportunity to get rid of the dead wood. All the loan players are naturally going to go back, so that will free up because we put some really good money into the players that have gone out on loan. We could probably replace the players who are going out on loan with as good, if not better. If you think of the likes of Dijiga, Magoma has done a job without being spectacular. Obviously, Scov Olsen, and I feel as if there's another one on loan. Can't think. Max Aarons. I genuinely believe in the summer we'll improve. We'll sign better than them four, or we'll get more out of the four that come in. So yeah, I'm still with him. He needs to stop making the kind of the same mistakes that aren't working. So Gassama on the right, for example.
That's the one. And as
He
soon as
can't.
you say mistakes, it's like
He can't
yeah.
die on a hill. He can't die on a hill with him. All the highlights I kind of watched the Gassama. Not claim to be a Sheffield Wednesday fan by any stretch, but a Sheffield Wednesday fan that I do know said he does his best. He always said he does his best stuff down the left or as a lone striker, which we haven't seen. Whether that was just because of the type of football Sheffield Wednesday were playing at the time, but for me, if he's not on the left wing, he should be nowhere near the team. I dare say it, there's probably other players in the squad that you'd have right wing ahead of him, like Bajrami, for example, who I don't think you're building a team around Bajrami, but I think you get better numbers and better output from a Bajrami on the right hand side. Whether it was just because he didn't want to take more off because he probably knew the crowd would have reacted, but more ran his race, more ran his heart out in that first 50, 60 minutes. Nadiri
Yep.
actually ran his race and ran his legs off himself. But again, and I said this on Sunday, and how I thought it was really damning in the fact that we only made 2 subs on Sunday, but against a really high paced game. I'm not, and I think he's probably been a little bit scarred from Motherwell as well. There's an argument to say when we went 2-1 up, we could have went to 3 at the back. Could have brought Dijiga on at that point and really tightened it up. You could have brought Tav on and gone to put Sterling into centre half to finish. But I do wonder whether he was scarred from that Motherwell game a few weeks before, where he went to the 5 at the back, and albeit that was prior to the sending off, but it just didn't work. Whereas I think he might have done that maybe a few months ago. So yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting 11. I don't think it'll be because I thought the 11 on Sunday was pretty predictable. I think a couple of the team guesses that we've seen, we might have been maybe 1 out. I think we might be 2 or 3 out on Sunday. You might even see like a Gassama come in. It might go back. You might go back to a more of a flat 4-3-3. We might see Gassama get a run on the left. We might see more on the right. We might see more play in front of a Diamandi and Chukwani as a 10. So yeah, he's got, the good thing is he's actually got options now. Albeit I don't think it's we see massive step up in quality. But if he's this great coach that we've been promised because of the clubs that he's worked at, some of the experience we've seen, it's games like Sunday where he's gonna make his money, or make his name, I should say. So therefore, maybe he comes in with a couple of master strokes to get us get us. I was going to say get us the 3 points, but get us into the next round, because it's got to be, it's massive.
It is massive, and there's a couple of comments I'd start there. One from Aldo saying the table doesn't lie, we're now in bronze or 3rd position, and then one from Hugo Bear saying Roll needs to win the Scottish Cup. As Aldo says, we dropped into 3rd last night, which I think we all saw coming. No one, I think, had any hope in Aberdeen doing anything for us last night, but still stings a little. It just feels there's no difference to us in Hearts, obviously, but just feels a little bit further away again. Do you still have hope and belief that something can happen in the league this season? I would love to say I do, but I'm starting to just think when these players get closer and get the right pressure moment and make the first hurdle, it's then 2 big steps back. I feel like I'm starting to lose any faith that I'd built up over the winter there.
Excuse me. I know we said offline in terms of how things can change in the space of a week. As I say, we're going to get the cup game out the way. Live with me here for a minute. But if we go and win on Sunday, everything's high, everything's flying. Celtic lose at home to Motherwell or draw to Motherwell. I don't think that's beyond the
Really?
realms of possibility. And Hearts have a daft one at Kilmarnock. We're 3 points behind going into the last, what will that then be, 7 games, 7 or 8 games?
8, I think. Yeah.
Is that a bad position to be in? I want to be. I'm not saying that's going to happen because I don't trust this team to go to St Mirren away as it stands. However, you wouldn't put your life mortgage on that won't happen. So I've kind of put myself in. I'm probably kidding myself. Let's have it right and build myself up to be knocked down. But I think there's still going to be plenty of twists and turns. I don't think Celtic are a good side. I honestly don't. We made them look like a good side on Sunday. I watched most of their game yesterday, and I was kind of watching it, waiting for them to kick in and kind of blow a really poor Aberdeen team away, and they just didn't seem to have that in them. Obviously, relied on another controversial goal. And I've watched Hearts a couple of times now against the rest, and they are just getting through. So again, I use the example of we go into next weekend, we win, Celtic draw or lose to home to Motherwell, and Kilmarnock beat Hearts at home. What do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden then we're all on a high. We go to Aberdeen, they go away to Celtic, go away to Dundee United. Hearts have got Dundee at home again. It's just another week. So I think all we can kind of do at the moment, and I know it's the hope that kills you, but I think we've just as fans we've kind of just got to run with this team. It's not gonna get we're not gonna get anywhere by kind of not running with them. Even if you think about Sunday, the fans were done. Like when Celtic scored, you seen Hatate getting the ball out the net. That was a statement of they thought they fancy beating us. Yeah, do you know what I mean? And we had a couple of chances, or certainly we got into the area, and the fans had chucked it on the 90 on the once they equalised. Don't get me wrong, we were all so deflated, but there kind of wasn't that big push. Right, come on, like it wasn't like come on, let's go and stick one to them here. It was almost a case of we're done. We're going to get beat here, and I think that's
I
because
think,
we
to be
weren't.
fair, if that game goes another 5-10 minutes, we very well could have. Because as you say, the players were done, fans were done,
Yeah,
and they were wheels are up kind of thing. So I think we're lucky it
it,
finished when it did.
it would have needed Sunday would have needed to be like this Sunday way, and if it had gone to extra time, I think we'd have potentially reset and gone right. Come on, let's go again. The fans, I think, would have stayed with them.
You know what? See, just on that, I'm sorry, I'm just absolutely cut you off, but it's something I remembered. Do you know what you see in English football a lot? Which, I mean, I think we'll watch a fair share of Premier League football. See this thing of like a goalie going down and holding his thigh or something, just so the manager can pull a couple of players over and be like, right, you stop doing this, do that. You just that wee mini reset. We don't do that. It links back to that thing I was crying about on Sunday nights, talking about like gamesmanship and the dark arts and all that kind of stuff. We just lack it so much. Even that would have, I think, at 2-1, just when they scored, see if Burton goes down just for a minute, just put my knees away here, give me a minute, just to get everyone like, right, come here, get a drink, relax, hold the ball. We just don't have any of that. And I don't know if that's Danny Rohl's inexperience coming through a little bit. I don't know if it's the players' inexperience. None of them really know how to win and how to see things through. Like, obviously, Tav has won a title, but he's lost more than he's won. That has to be said. So I think we could really do with just a bit of a bastard or two in there. Not that we're going to bring someone at this point, but we really lack it, don't we?
Well, you could argue Conor Barron could be that guy. He won't be spectacular. Yeah. He won't be. He's not going to turn into prime Messi overnight. But you know what? He'll do the dirty stuff. He'll run past people to make tackles. I get the impression he's probably a manager's dream. Unlike Nico Raskin, who you kind of touched on a wee bit, Nico Raskin I think is going to be a problem for me. There's no doubt the kid's got ability. I really like his kind of the character you see on the pitch. I get the impression he really cares. He's obviously committed himself to get himself as fit as possible, but there's massive chunks of the game where he just absolutely vanishes, and I think he does a lot of things for it out of self-interest as well. You know, in terms of dropping in between the back three at times, he chased a few lost causes. He kind of just I think he tries to sometimes do too much, And I think that was one of the things that Barry Ferguson kind of reiterated, and I think Neil McCann mentioned it, didn't he? In terms of that they both said you can't tell Nico. He just doesn't agree with what you're kind of saying. Phil Clement didn't fancy him. Russell Martin didn't fancy him, but we didn't fancy Russell Martin either. And he kind of just he probably does believe his own hype. And let's have it right. He's a Belgium internationalist, and
I don't
he's
mind that.
starting lots of
I don't
games.
mind that idea. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want players with that mentality. However, I think sometimes his thought process kind of isn't what is best for the team at times. There was one on Sunday, I think, where he made a run. Chugwani had gone high, and then Raskin must have just been ball watching, no awareness. The ball went wide. He then made a run over the top. The ball didn't come, but then we had no central midfield, and then Celtic just ran onto us, and it was like, you should have sat and held that midfield because you knew Chugwani was out, and it was almost the case of I think he's quite selfish. Again, without knowing, it could be a case of Danny Rohl, Phil Clement, Russell Martin have said, "Go on, Nico, you're a Belgian international, go and do what you want." But I don't think that is the case. But I'd love nothing more than for him to prove me wrong on Sunday and kind of really show it. I think when Rangers play well, Raskin plays well. And I think unfortunately, I think we've got too many players like that at the moment, where everything kind of needs to be going well to get the most out of everyone. So yeah, as I say, there's definitely a few positions. I don't think I'll go through that 11 there, and you could probably say out with maybe Fernandes, Romans, Chimiti and more. I wouldn't say any of them deserve a start, as in guaranteed. So if we're thinking that as fans, there's almost an argument that we could see a couple of changes, albeit I don't think the players that you can't have too many Asgards, Miofskis, Ant-Mans. You can't have too many of these guys on the Gassama. You can't have too many of these guys on the pitch at the same time, because these are the guys that have failed us so far this season. Hence why the 4 new boys that have came in, you can see they've given us that more of a physical profile, more a bit about us. Back to your point earlier about, does he make some changes? Does he go with the same formation on Sunday but bring Miofsky in for, say, Nadiri? And then Nadiri comes off the bench with half an hour to go, because I reckon he would be a nightmare to play against if he comes on running at you with all of his energy and everything that he's got. So we might see a few interesting changes on Sunday, as you said earlier.
Yep, a comment there from Albert saying, when is Barron due back? He is training. I don't think he'll be in the squad this weekend. I'd be surprised to see it, but maybe we've been holding him off for it. At best, you're looking at a kind of late cameo, though, sadly. JB, if we look at predictions, we've talked about the lineup, we've talked about how important the game is, how big this could be to restart the season after that blip there. How do you see it going? If I was to ask you for a score prediction right now, what would you... I think it'd be quite different from if I asked you on Sunday night, but if I asked you now, Thursday, 8 o'clock, what's your thinking?
If you'd have asked me at Sunday half time, I'd have said 4-0 and 5-0, but I'll go with a 2-1 win. I think it's going to be tight. I can't see anyone. I can't see one of I don't think either team are good enough to blow the other one away. I think I'm also mindful of the fact that they've had one hell of a fixture run. The last few weeks, I thought they looked leggy as anything on Wednesday. Now it could just be a case they've dropped to Aberdeen's level, so to speak. But you kind of see they were carrying a few bumps and bruises, and we just need to make sure that the players that we start with are up for it. Get the crowd on side again, but then just as importantly, and hence why you might make a few changes, the players that come on have got to kind of take us to the next level or keep doing what we do. But I agree with a few of the comments there. I don't care how we win, just bloody win.
My prediction has just been mirrored by Big Phil here in a way. I think we win on penalties. I think it goes all the way, this one. It's why I'm kind of thinking, right, I want to have to be coming on. I want a Scott Olsen to be coming, guys that should be able to handle that moment, because I won't handle it. I'll be shaking in the gantry. Ronald says go on 3-0 Bears. I'll take that. That'll help my heart rate a little bit. Got a couple more minutes left. Just a couple more things to go through. JB, still in the Scottish Cup is Aberdeen, Falkirk Dunfermline, Partick Thistle, St Mirren and Dundee United. It's not the most challenging quarter-final or lineup you've ever seen. Do you think this trophy's ours if we win, or is that just something I'll ask that will get clipped in a few weeks' time when Partick Thistle put us out?
If we approach the games with the right mindset, the final's on Sunday. Do you know what I mean? But like with anything, obviously St Mirren won the first cup that was on that was up for things this season. St Johnstone a couple of years ago won a double, didn't they? Aberdeen won the Scottish Cup last year, and so anything can happen in that regard. I think we just need to. Yeah, the old cliche, isn't it? Just take it game by game, get games won, and then kind of see where we land, and then go from there. But yeah, I'm nervously looking forward to it now. So I don't think I was this morning, but I think I've convinced myself now that I am.
That's why we do this. And this morning I was like, oh God, I can see it far enough. Now I'm up for it. Come Sunday, we'll all be very up for it. So yes, we'll be at the game. Make sure you're following along for tweets, comments, videos, all that stuff. Make sure you're liking the videos, subscribing, following us on X, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We're everywhere and anywhere. But we'll leave you with that. We'll be at the game on Sunday, as I say. So we'll speak to you guys again then. Thanks everyone for joining us. Thanks for the comments. As always, loads flying in, which we always love to see. So on behalf of JB and myself, take care, guys, and we'll see you all Sunday. Cheers.